again, welcome back to Memoirs and Some, the podcast. It's your girl, Myia Dominique, and we are back with another episode. I'm so excited. We just moving right along on episodes. So today we're going to get a little serious, but I got some fun stuff coming up. So I like to go on and off, fun, then kind of serious, get into some stuff that's like life-changing, then we get into some of that fun, messy, life-changing stuff. But today is more on a serious note. But it can get, it can go both ways. I'll say that. Generational curses. A lot of people do not address generational curses. They are very much real. If you look back on your parents, and then your parents' parents, and then your parents' parents' parents, so your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your great-great-grandparents, and you see some of the generational curses that come down to you. You'll be surprised at some of the stuff that trickles down to you, and you're like, wow. Or you kind of think about it like, dang, I didn't really know that was a generational curse. So I'm going to read the definition of generational curses first. And then I'm going to get into it. I have a part 2 to this that will be coming. So, and it'll be from a biblical standpoint, because I know everybody has their own perception of what generational curse is. But I'm just going to read the definition. This is per Google. A generational curse is a habit or behavior that has been passed down from one generation to the next. Parents strive to make sure that the life they lead will help their children live a better one. Children practice what they have learned on their own and what they have gathered from generations before them. So, something that's been passed down from one generation to the next. Meaning, your child see you doing it, you're doing it, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, and your child picks up on it, and now this generation is doing it, and then now another generation is doing it. So generational curses, at least for me, I like to break them. If it's a bad habit, let's break it. Let's not keep a bad habit continuing it on and on and on and on, because then what are we teaching our children? I have 2 boys. I cannot teach 2 boys how to be men, but I definitely can break some of those bad habits that I see men in my family have. For instance, pride. Not being able, it's okay to be prideful, but it's not okay to not be able to take help. I have watched my grandfather. He was very masculine. So there was a lot of things he felt like only men could do, or a woman couldn't tell him what to do with that, or just certain things he wouldn't allow himself to kind of break that prideful barrier. I want my kids to not do that. Be able to be vulnerable. Be able to say, nah, I don't know how to do that one. And it's okay. It's not saying that you're less of a man. It's not even saying that you aren't a man. You just don't know how to do that, or you don't know how to handle that. Life is not giving you, it's like no book for life. So if you don't experience something, you don't know how to deal with it. Now, you can have information on how to deal with it and look at it from the outside in, outside looking in, and give a perception or a opinion about it. But until you really experience something, you don't really know how to do it. And we as a people, especially African Americans, we have a hard time saying we don't know how to do something, or we don't know how to deal with something. Like, we'd rather just lie or front our shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, sorry to get ghetto, but for real, like, we don't know how to just be like, man, I don't know how to do that, or I ain't never had it happen to me. People do that, and then it makes it hard when you're trying to break those generational curses. Because see, if you never admit that you don't know how to do something, and you continue on with this bad habit all these years, and somebody has picked up on this bad habit all these years, It was simply because you didn't know how to do it. But instead of you telling that person or explaining that you don't know how to do it, you've been leaving this bad habit on for now 5 generations. Come on now, y'all, for real? It really? I had to sip my little tea. But in all seriousness, generational curses, they play a big role in how you grow up. They play a big role in how you raise your children. Because if you've been thinking something is right all this time, number one, to have to now learn a new habit. But then if you have kids, God forbid, now you got to teach this new habit. And if you have already taught them the wrong way, now you got to go back and retrain them and reteach them the right way or the new way. That's a lot. It's a lot for a parent. It's a lot for anybody, but especially parents. Generational curses can come from generations back. I mean, like alcoholism. I know alcoholism and obesity is a big thing on both sides of my families, but one specific more than the other. Obesity and having children, like having multiple children with multiple people, that's a big thing. Generational. Having all those kids with different partners is generational. I have a lot of aunts and uncles who have done it. But I look at my grandparents, they have had that type of situation going on. So when you look back at the generations of what's going on, you have to go all the way back. Because even our grandparents, when you look further past them, it don't even stop with them. It was their parents too, and their grandparents. I hear my grandma talk about stuff her grandmother did all the time. So if she's my grandmother, her mother is my great grandmother. So her grandmother is my great great grandmother. That's a long time to me. I'm just saying. So when you look at those generational curses, I like to break them. If it's a bad habit, I prefer to break it. I prefer to nip it in the bud and say, okay, we've been doing this wrong this long. Let's switch it up. Let's do something else. Let's get it right. I'm not a person who's going to proud to spill milk. I know a lot of people use generational curses or use those things as an excuse. Like, oh, well, I don't know how to do this because I was never taught. Okay, you were never taught, or the way you were taught was not the right way. But if you're learning a different way, let's learn that different way and be better. Let's not use that as an excuse. I see a lot of people using it as an excuse. And it's easier to do that. I get it. It is. It's easier to be like, okay, well, I don't know how to do it, blah, 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 wah, 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 and then leave it alone. But when you actually are invested in you and developing you, or even your kids, wanting your kids to do better, we'll use the kids opposed to being invested in you. Both of them, really. But especially with your kids. I really don't know no parent, unless you're just a hating ass parent, that don't want your child to do better than you. I'm 27 and my kids are 10 and 8 and I want them to do better than me by 16. I was pregnant at 16. So ideally, yes, I don't want them coming to me telling me somebody is pregnant. Teen pregnancy can be a generational curse. I know somebody. It's 3 generations of teen pregnancy. And the only reason I don't know if it's 4 is because I don't know if they talk to the great grandmother. I never heard her. But yeah, that can definitely be generational curse. I was about to say alcoholism. I think at one point in time, alcoholism is very much a generational curse. If you do not teach your children how to properly cope, how to properly deal with trauma, and how to indulge in healthy coping mechanisms, that bottle will be the death of them. And I have watched people turn that bottle will turn into the only thing that they know, and that is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. especially when that's the only way you know how to cope. So if all you know is that your mother drinks Coronas and smokes cigarettes every day, but you know bills past due, you know her boyfriend going through whatever, your dad is wherever. I'm just giving a scenario, and all you see your mom do is drink that Corona and smoke that square. How you think you gonna deal with situations when your bills due and you having boyfriend problems, or you having this and you having that? You gonna think back like, dang, okay, my mama did that, maybe that was helping. You don't really know if it was helping or not helping, but you do it anyway, because that's what our mind trains us to do. That's what we know to do. We just know to do what we see. Even though they could tell you, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Does that really matter? Honestly. Because when you are accustomed to seeing something for so long, you think that is what's supposed to be done. Unfortunately, we scar our children, and I say we, because I probably have scarred my children in probably a few ways. Not to say in a bad way or that they even feel this way, but just transitions. You know, I try not to do that with my kids, give them so many transitions in life, because it hurts the kid. You know, I've been through it, gone through it a million times, and it's not fun. So I try to limit that. Do I think I limited it to an extent? Yes. But do I feel like I could have eliminated more of them? I could have, but I was hard-headed. So you live and you learn. However, that does not mean that you can't acknowledge where you messed up and continue not to do it, and then teach your kids to not do it. You have, when you teaching your kids to break these generational curses and to stop these bad habits. These new kids, they from the show me state. They are not those kids that you could be like, no, Tommy, sit down, and no means no. They're gonna tell you, well, look, Lele on YouTube and Ryan on such and such and this person on TikTok. You gotta stay abreast with these kids. See, my mama didn't try to stay up to date with what the world and what society had going on. She took a long time to give us a cell phone. She was just just not into allowing kids to grow up quicker than what they were supposed to. So with her not wanting to stay abreast, she then lost touch with a lot of stuff we was able to do. So with that, we was able to run some game on her, some of it we wasn't. But breaking that curse in itself, you never too old to learn. And I think she learned that after the fact, like, wow, these kids gonna teach you a lot. You're gonna learn a lot if you just sit and listen to your kids. You sit and see where things are in life. I know how to do TikToks. I'm not, as fancy with all the edits and the cut and all of that shit. I know how to do basics. If I need help with additional stuff, I go ask my son, hey, man, how you do this, how you do that. I'm trying to break that whole cycle of kids should be seen and not heard. No, kids should be heard, and you engage with your kids. Me and my kids, we do family game night. We ain't done it in a while because they've been on punishment, but starting the new year back, we do it. Family game night. This is the day, this is the time. That's the day where we might have rotel for dinner, or we might have nachos or tacos, something quick, so that we can play Uno, so we can play Connect Four, so we can play Jingle. These are things that are important to your kids. My mom did it. This is a generational thing that we want to continue. That's positivity. What my mom didn't do was stay abreast with the time. So that's why I try to stay abreast with the time. I go through them cell phones at random. Oh, I don't care. I'm coming through. Sergeant. Yeah. Because I want to see, I want to know What do this mean? Who is this person? If you got them saved under something that I can't read, oh, you gonna explain that and why? Other words, it's get deleted and blocked. One thing my kids cannot do is run game on me as far as lying, because my memory is immaculate. I will come back in 10 days and ask you the same damn question, the same way I asked you on day one, and see if you give me the same response. I know what you said, I know how you looked, I know how you blinked, everything. And I'm going to be able to know if you're lying. I got cameras in my house. I know when my kids do stuff. I know before I ask. So if I ask you and you lie, you got a problem. Lying. Generational curse. It is a generational curse. It is terrible. I despise it. That lying is a bad thing, because when you lie, you gotta continue to lie. You gotta try to remember what you said. I don't have time for all that shit. Once you say whatever you say, let it be that and it. And some people lie not to hurt people's feelings. I understand it. But it still doesn't get you anywhere. I've been there and done that. I've lied to not hurt a person's feelings. I've not told the complete, thing, or tried to like stretch it a little bit or try to soften it up. It don't help. It don't help. Because if you start that as a habit, you'll continue to be a people pleaser. Generational curse. I often tell my mom that this helpful spirit that my brother and I have, it came from her. And I look back, my grandma is like that. And then I look back, her grandmother was like that. As you talk about it, that helping spirit, that always feeling the need to help, always feeling the need to have to help people, that is a generational curse. And if you don't get control of it, people will continue to run over you. Been there, done that too. Been ran over a couple of times. No shame in it. I'm not going to change who I am, but I definitely have to change how I do things. So opposed to giving a person something all at one time, you got to slightly give them that assistance. Not saying that you don't care, but you have to slowly, gradually give people stuff and make them earn that helpful part of you. Because when you just giving it, people take advantage of it. The helpful spirit, it can be a blessing and a curse, definitely. And you gotta know when to help and know when not to help. So I'm gonna look up some generational curses and living the same exact lives as your parents. That's a generational curse. Working too hard. That's a generational curse. Not considering children's feelings. What do we just say? Being seen and not heard. That is a generational curse. I think a whole lot of families got. I think it's just our color in general. We have told these kids this for ages and ages and ages, that kids have to be seen and not heard. And I'm sorry, but I disagree. I totally disagree. Not teaching your kids life skills. Not many girls I know that are like my age and maybe a couple of years older or a couple of years younger and don't know how to sew. Basic things like we just don't teach our kids. Like basic sewing. Do I know how to work a sewing machine? No. But can I put on a button? Sew on a button? Sew a hole? Yes. I can do basic stuff. Let's go to generational curses in the Bible, because they got a lot of stuff. Let's see. So, when you are breaking generational curses, they don't have no good Bible in this house, so we ain't gonna do that. But to acknowledge that whatever that habit is, good or bad, is a generational curse, and either you want to continue it, because they could be tweaked too. Like, for instance, a recipe, a family recipe, you could say, okay, this is mama's special pound cake. But let's say you add a different way of putting your powdered sugar. That's not saying that it's not mama's special pound cake, but you added your own taste to it. So now maybe your kids and your grandkids is going to have your special pound cake. You've been raised 4 or 5 generations to do it mama's way, but you added this little sugar that way. It could be tweaked. Generational curses don't have to stay in a negative place if you don't want it to. People allow it to stay negative when they don't acknowledge that it's a bad habit, number one, and then they don't see a way to fix it. If you're fixing the habit, you're breaking that generational curse. Now, there are situations where you just flat out, it just gotta go. Like, there is no way to tweak it, there is no way to fix it, it just gotta go. There are some habits like that. There are. And the way you handle those, again, acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is the biggest thing. Once you know that, okay, this is a bad habit, we can't do this no more, or we gotta find a different way to do this, so we just have to scratch this plan in its entirety and come up with a new one. That's when the healing and you moving forward to teaching something else. We don't want our kids doing the same thing. We don't want our kids making the same mistakes. We don't want our children to continue to look at us and say, well, my mama did that and it was clearly wrong. We want our kids to say, well, my mom did that, but she taught me how to do this. I want my kids to do that. I can't speak for nobody else, but I want my kids, if I taught you the wrong way, or if I've been doing something the wrong way, I want to teach you the right way. Because I want you to go into the world knowing that, yeah, you're never too old to learn. And it's never, ever just one way to skin a cat. It's always a way to do something. It's going to always be another way if you allow it to be. People try to make an excuse, oh, I just can't do it. Okay, well, fine. Bye. Boom, quitter. But if you look at it and say, okay, I made it that way and it didn't work that way, you can't keep going to do the same thing expecting a different result. The only way that generational curse is going to be broken is if you break it. You have to do something different. So that's just my little spiel. We're going to break these generational curses. We are going to teach our children something new. We're going to bring life and positivity to these new generation children and have some proud children and grandchildren to be proud of. We're going to have some proud moments. I know I am. I'm teaching my boys as best as I can because I want to be a proud mother and a proud grandmother. I'm already a proud mother, and eventually way, 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 way in my like 70s and 80s when I'm a grandmother, I want to be just as proud of them. But you know how it is. It goes down on Memoirs and Some, the podcast. It's your girl, Myia Dominique, and we here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. But we out for tonight. See you. Peace.